Hey everyone, welcome to Random Bits of Randomness. Today I'm here with my wife, Debbie.
Hi.
And we are going to do something different this time. I came up with a topic, she came up with a topic. We're going to bring them up to each other, kind of talk about them, and just try to blow each other's mind.
Yeah, and then you guys at the end of all this can vote and tell us whose story was better. And it was mine. Just so you know, it was mine.
The woman's
better.
always right,
yeah.
so
Who's going first?
Rock, paper, scissors.
Okay. I was thinking that.
So, ready?
Or should we do lizard Spock, what was it called?
Rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock?
Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's what it is. We'll just do rock, paper, scissors. Rock, paper, scissors.
Oh, Isaac won.
I got scissors, sheeted paper.
And sorry for that super loud clap that just happened.
That's why you don't do papers on a live stream.
Oh, darn paper.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question now.
Okay.
When you think of cults, who are the leaders you think of?
I think of Jim Jones, to be honest.
Jim Jones?
Yeah, Jim Jones. He did like that super big compound with bringing in tens people. It's the drink the Kool-Aid reference where they all committed suicide together.
Yep.
Yeah.
So a lot of people think of him. A lot of people think of a lot of other people. I've got a cult leader that you probably haven't heard of. A lot of people, at least I hadn't until about a couple months ago.
Yeah.
And I find this really fascinating.
All right.
And this cult started in World War II. So what happened was, it was really interesting. So we were setting up different forward bases to have our airships, our planes and stuff launch off of, and we wanted to be able to be closer to enemy bases, so we were setting up on islands in the different oceans, and we were on some of the ones. Let me look at where this one is exactly. It's on...
See, guys, he didn't even come prepared.
Oh, no, I have it right here. It's on the Tana Island. Anyways.
Are you saying that right?
I assume so. It's T-A-N-N-A.
Oh, I don't know. It doesn't sound right, though, but
anyways,
we'll go with it.
It's on Tana Island. Anyways, so these people went there, right? Mm-hmm. And this guy named John Frum was one of the people. He's actually the cult leader.
Okay.
And he went to the...
And he was a military dude?
Yeah, he's a soldier.
Okay.
I think with the British Army.
Okay.
Anyways, so they go there, and what he does is he tells all the islanders... Well, first they go there, they give a bunch of gifts and stuff. They say, hey, here's some free food. They give them MREs and different cool stuff. And these are islanders who don't know anything about technology.
So wait, did they not okay it with these people? They're just like, yeah, we'll just show up and be like, hey, natives, be chill with us.
Well, no, that's what these people were doing. Before everyone went there, they were talking to the natives, kind of getting the natives on board with what they were doing.
Okay, it wasn't just like they showed them like, hey!
Yeah, so no, they showed up and they're like, hey guys, so we're going to be coming with a bunch of other ships and stuff. Here's a bunch of free food and free stuff, so it's awesome having us here, so let the rest of our people come.
Right.
And the natives are like, yay, free stuff! Yeah, come on over. And they're like, okay, awesome. And then John Frum leaves. And the natives are waiting, and a month or two goes by, and we come by with a huge military operation. And the natives are watching, and they see us build this big military base on the island. And we have all of this cargo shipments getting air supply dropped to the military base. Mm-hmm. And in these cargo shipments, there's just tons and tons of food falling from the sky.
Right.
And they're giving it to all the natives. Mm-hmm. And the natives see these people in their big towers calling on the radios and putting, helmets on to talk on the radios. And they see planes flying in and taking off, and they see all this going on. And they don't understand the whole concept of the war going on because they don't have any of this technology, and they just kind of see it from an outsider's perspective, from really, And
they're not included in this war, they're just kind of there.
Yeah, they're just there. So anyways, the war ends up ending, and we leave. And the people don't know why we left. And so...
It's kind of sad.
It is sad, but years and years, I think it was a couple decades went by, and we ended up just having some explorers go to these islands, just kind of like scientists cataloging different things, right?
Right.
And they see these people on this island, and they have a tree statue made out of wooden planks and like plants. And they have a huge satellite tower made out of stuff, and they have giant headphones made out of like coconuts with a twig between them and like a microphone coming out, and they have people go up every day on top of the tower, put these coconut things on, and talk on the radio, calling for airdrops because they didn't understand the technology behind it.
Right.
They thought these people were up there talking, and somehow it caused...
Like they were God or something.
Like they were speaking to gods or something. Yeah, they were like calling in supplies from the heavens. And so they were trying to do this, and they made a mock-up of literally everything. And they had guns that were carved out of wood, and they had tons of people doing the military drills, marching every day, because they weren't sure what caused it, and they were trying to recreate all of
That's like the saddest thing!
Yeah, but they were trying to recreate all of the things that they saw, and they had all of these huge... religious ceremonies, and when they were asked about it, they were like, well, this person, John Frum, he came by and he told us that they were promising all this wealth and all this stuff to us, and then he disappeared, and then all of everything he foretold came to pass. All of these prophecies were true, and they saw it as him coming through, giving some random person came by, gave him free food, gave a prophecy, and left, and then the prophecy came to be.
Oh my god.
And so they thought he was a prophet.
Oh.
And he was a religious leader, but he didn't even know it.
Right. They went and probably found him years later, and he's like,
no, they couldn't find him. They could not find anyone in the records named John Frum. But you know what? The theory is that he said, "Oh, I'm John from Britain," and they thought Frum was a surname and said, "Oh, it's John Frum."
Oh.
So they don't even. There's tons of Johns.
Right.
So it could.
There's no way to track that.
Yeah, it could be anyone.
Wow.
I thought that was insane when I found it. Have you ever heard of any of that?
I've never heard of any of that. That's really fascinating, though.
This is not the only one.
I believe it.
This thing's called cargo cults, and there's tons of them all around the world. It's when people with technology come into an area for a while, bring tons of stuff, and then leave. A lot of the local people who are not as advanced see them as gods or, otherworldly beings coming in, and they end up usually worshiping them and recreating a lot of what they did as rituals to try to bring them back and bring all the prosperity back from them. Mm-hmm. I mean, like you said, it is sad, but at the same time, it's just fascinating seeing how the human mind works, because, they're being logical to them.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, hey,
it makes sense.
Yeah, they're like, this all happened, we want this to happen again, we really like it, let's recreate what just happened.
Oh, my goodness.
Is this where you thought I was going with cults?
No, I thought they would be committing mass suicide or something really bizarre.
No, it's all these religions.
I didn't realize it was an accidental start of something that probably spanned generations.
Oh, it's still going on.
Oh.
And a lot of people, we don't want to interfere because we don't want to,
we don't want to hurt them.
Yeah, so we're not interfering and changing them. So there's a lot of people who still believe in the John Frum religion, and a bunch of these other cargo cults are still out there actively doing their worship and everything, trying to do it.
So these cargo cults, are they all associated with World War II?
No, they're,
Or just technology in general?
Yeah, I mean, there's some back in the 1800s that... started then.
It reminds me of that beginning of, I can't remember which Star Trek it is. We watched it with one of our friends years ago, and in the beginning, the ship flies over, the Enterprise, that flies over these people, and they think it's a god, and they rip down all their shrines, and they draw a picture of the Star Trek Enterprise, and then they form a religion out of it, and then the head commander guy of the fleet is like, guys! You weren't supposed to interfere. Now everything has changed for them. That's our number one rule. That's what it makes me think of.
I don't remember that one, but yeah, it's very similar in concept. I'll bet they saw cargo cults and they got inspired off of that.
Oh, I bet they did.
But yeah, I don't know. I just found this really fascinating. I don't know how I've never heard of this. Because this is a big thing. But yeah, it's just, I don't know, just fascinating.
Oh, it is incredibly fascinating.
And I've actually been wanting to talk to you about this for 2 months now, but we've been trying to do this episode for 2 months.
I know, we just had so much
and so
on.
I've been having this build up in me. But anyways, yeah, I think it's really cool. Anyways, that was my story.
Okay.
What's your story?
Mine's also kind of a little bit of a downer. Sorry.
Was mine a downer? I don't know.
I mean, it's not. It's really fascinating. It's really amazing. But those poor people.
Yeah, those poor people.
Because, I mean, they could be, trying to, bring themselves to be these perfect soldiers and doing all of these things that they saw throughout the war, and they're not getting their end result. Yep. And they're beating themselves up for famines.
Why isn't this working? We're not doing the rituals right. We've seen people do it. We know it works. We just don't know why.
It's so tragic. Okay. All right. So I'll go ahead to my story then. So this is in 1959, and this is in, like, northwest England. And there's this guy. His name is Peter Rainbart, and he's an air official and whatever, and he meets this girl. Her name is Malika Maria de Hernandez.
Maria? Is it a dude?
No, it's Malika. Her name is Malika Maria.
Is it a dude or a chick?
It's a girl.
Oh, I thought you said it was a dude. Okay, carry on.
No, why would I say it was a dude?
I don't know. That's what I thought you said.
No, anyway, so they meet, and within 2 hours of the meeting, he's like, hey, I really like you. And she's like, I like you too. And he's like, let's get married. And she's like, okay. And so for the next 4 days, they spend every waking moment together, and then they get married. It sounds like a BYU romance, to be honest.
Yep.
Anyway, so they get married, and 2 years later, in the month of June, in 1961, she disappears.
Okay.
And nobody can figure out exactly, like, why she's gone. But there's all these theories that, like, he had money and whatever, but they were squabbling over it, and that he had murdered her and thrown her body out somewhere. But they couldn't ever find it. The police looked into it for years. They couldn't figure it out. And so this goes on until 1983. And it's May 13th, and then there's 2 guys. They work as they're peat cutters.
Okay. I thought they were peat farmers.
I know, but Dwight Schrute shows up.
Yep, exactly. The office will be proud.
No. Anyway, and their names are Andy Mold and Stephen Dooley. And their job is to take the peat and put it on a conveyor belt, and this is out in a bog area. Do you know what peat is?
Like peat moss type things, or?
Yeah, kind of. Do you know what it is, though?
Not particularly. A little bit. Tell me.
Okay, so I looked it up because I didn't know what it was either. I just heard it a bunch throughout when I was researching this. And apparently it's a brown deposit resembling soil kind of a thing. And it's formed from partially decomped vegetable matter in wet acidic conditions of bogs and fens. And then they take it and they cut it out and they dry it, and you can use it as fuel or for gardening purposes. And just kind of, stuff. Anyway, so as they're going through
fertilizer type thing.
Yeah, it's like fertilizer. Or just for fuel. It's probably, like, really long burning from, like, what it sounded like.
Okay.
Anyway, so, they find this object as they're, like, putting all the stuff on the conveyor, and it looks like a football. And so they're like, oh, that's really weird. They stop the conveyor, and they pick it up, and they start peeling back all the peat on it. And as they're pulling it off, they go, oh, no, and realize it's part of a human head.
Oh, my.
I know. They're pulling it off, and they're seeing bits of hair and eyeball and brain matter and, like, soft tissue.
This is the Maria chick?
The Malika chick. So they hurry and they call the police, like, oh my gosh, we found this head. Come help us. And so the police go, and they're like, oh, maybe this is that Malika chick that we've been wondering about. And so they go and they get Peter, and they're like, hey, we found a head out by your house.
He's like, yep, I did.
He actually does. He confesses to it, and he says, it has been so long that I hadn't thought I would ever be found out. I thought you guys had just forgotten about it.
Oh, he does confess. I thought you said
he does. He does confess. He totally confesses. When they take him into trial and whatever, he says, okay, so this is what happened. I guess Malika had been running errands out in June of 1961, and she comes home, and she finds him with another man, and they're...
With another man? Wow.
And they're assaulting each other with friendly weapons.
Alrighty.
You know what I mean?
They're doing a lightsaber duel?
Yes! Anyway, and so his buddy hightails it out of there, and she starts confronting him and saying... Or at least this is what he says. We've never been able to confirm this. But he says she starts trying to exhort him, saying, hey, you need to do this and this for me, or I'm going to...
expose you.
Because it wasn't just like a social kind of like no-no kind of a thing. Back in the 1960s in England, if you were caught having sexual relationships with another man, you could go to prison, you could face like all these fines and stuff. Like, it was a big deal.
Don't you love how open-minded we used to be?
I know, right? This was the 60s, but I don't know. Anyway, so, Where was I? I lost my spot.
So they were at the lightsaber duel.
Shut up! Anyway, so he kills her, and after he kills her, he chops up all of her little body bits, and he collects them all, and he starts walking out to the bog, which is just like about 300 feet from his house, 300 yards.
Okay.
And as he's going, there's a trench that leads from his house to the bog. And he's just throwing bits of pieces down there, and I guess the rainwater would come down and sometimes slosh out some of those pieces and whatever. And he just kept throwing as he went, and that was it. Mm-hmm. And so,
he didn't do a small enough pieces on the head, is what you're saying?
Apparently not. But anyway, so, the court finds him guilty after 3 hours of, like, deliberation and whatever. And so they're like, okay, well, you're guilty. We're going to figure out your sentencing and whatever come next year. Because this is December. People got to go home for Christmas.
All right.
They got stuff to do, okay?
Got to go home for Santa Claus.
Exactly.
You can have one more Christmas.
Anyway, and so while this is going on, one of the police people is like, hey, so we're just wanting to get all of our ducks in a row to make sure that this is actually her skull. We don't want it to be all messed up and whatever. And so we're going to send this off to Oxford University, and they're going to test it for us. Mm-hmm. And they're like, okay, whatever. And so later that year, after all the tests...
He got in trouble for something that wasn't actually her.
They did a test on this skull, and they found out that the skull was actually carbon dated back to 250 AD.
Okay, I was going to say, if he was chopping it up into small pieces, how do they have a skull? But that makes more sense.
I know.
He should have just kept his mouth shut and been like, well, that's crazy. I wonder who that is.
I know. But I mean, who would think? But this is a rare thing called bog bodies. Mm-hmm. And I think I've told you about them right before.
I don't know if you have. I think I've heard about them on Box of Oddities. Is this one of their stories?
A little bit. Anyway, so bog bodies. How these bodies are made is out in the bogs, as new peat replaces the old peat, the older material underneath it rots and it releases a humic acid known as bog acid. And the pH levels are similar to vinegar. And so basically it takes these bodies and it pickles them and it tans them out. And so they've come back either in bits and pieces and chunks, like this woman, who is called the Lindau woman. Mm-hmm. Or there's perfectly preserved bodies. Like there's the Lindau man, who's also been found. He's one of the most preserved bog bodies there is. You can see his facial hair, the color of it, how his skin looks. Some of these bodies have even found tattoos on them.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Anyway, so the Lindau woman, she is theorized to be a 30 to 50-year-old woman, which is now they're kind of doubtful because it's a skull. Mm-hmm. I mean, how are you going to tell it's a woman by the skull? And it's that old. Yeah. And she was killed in, they theorize, a Celtic ritual sacrifice in Roman Britannia.
Haven't humans been awesome in the past?
I know. I guess this was a common thing. During that time period, people that were religious weirdos or people that needed to be sacrificed, they would go and they'd kill them and they'd put them out in the peat bogs. Mm-hmm. I don't know why. They just...
Because they wanted to get other people in trouble in the future.
I guess so. They're like, we see the future, Peter. We're coming for you.
Yep.
Anyway, and so after that, he tried to take it back. He did, but he was still convicted and sentenced to prison.
Yeah, he admitted it all.
I know, but oh my gosh, the tragic twist of fate on that. Well, I mean, it's not tragic. It's justice, but still just oh.
Yep. That was a tragic story, Debbie.
It was a tragic story. I feel like we have to do something happy to make up for all the sadness that we just put on.
I think people are fine. They'll be miserable.
Alright.
You guys okay with being miserable?
I guess so. They're watching this.
Yep. I mean, this is happier than half of the content I make, so.
Yeah, I know. Your Five Nights at Freddy's, I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of creepy.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. You mean kids getting killed and stuffed into animatronics is not a happy thing for you?
No, that's not but just... I don't know. That just... Yeah, no.
No, we'll have to do you on a live stream playing it sometime.
No, that's okay.
Anyways, everyone, thanks for watching. That was Random Bits of Randomness. This was just kind of a story time with me and my wife. So, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, smash that like button. Subscribe to our channel. We post new content daily. And leave a comment below. Let us know what you think about it.
Alright, bye y'all.
Yep. Peace.